Hey, y'all. I want to welcome you back to an episode of Get Your Rear in Gear with Lori. Today, I have a very special guest, and I'm so excited. Not only is she my mentor, but she's someone who is inspirational in me doing the things that I do in my life now. She is a peak performance coach, a TEDx speaker, podcaster, a leading expert in the field of resilience and transformation. She's a best selling author of True Grit and Grace. She's a founder of the Unstoppable Life Mastermind. She's also recently been featured in NBC's Today Show, The Doctors, Hallmark, my favorite, and featured in magazines such as Shape, Fit, Pregnancy, Yahoo, Forbes, USA Today, LA Style, Health Magazine, Keynote Magazine, and Disability Magazine. I would like to welcome my friend, Amberly Lago.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about your podcast, and I especially love the name of your show. And I love you. So
I
thank you
love
for
you.
having me.
Well, I'm so thankful that you're here. A little bit about how I know you. It's kind of crazy because about a year ago, my sister actually introduced me to your Instagram. And I was like, yeah, she's cool. We're kind of in the same arena kind of thing. So I texted her the other day and I was like, listen, would you believe this is kind of like come from full circle because now I'm going to be interviewing Amberly on my podcast. She was like, that's
Oh my goodness.
crazy.
How long ago? How long ago was that?
About a year.
About a year ago?
Yeah.
Well, it's just wild how things can happen and your life can change in the blink of an eye. And I just like as you were reading that introduction, I was kind of like, she's talking about me because I feel like the only reason I have even been able to do a lot of the things that I've done is just because, man, I have failed and fallen and hit rock bottom and roadblocks and I really hope to share not just some inspiration, but for others, but also so others know that it doesn't matter. Like it's never too late to start. It's never too late to
Right.
reinvent yourself. It's never too late to go after your big dreams or goals.
Right.
And I just love that you are doing that. I mean, you've always been highly, highly successful,
Yeah.
but now you're doing some new, exciting things. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to see you on stage soon.
I know. I'm so excited about that as well. So, Amberly, I would like for my audience to know a little bit about who Amberly Lago is.
You know what? I was so caught up before in who I was. I think my whole identity was based on what I did.
Mm,
And this is going to sound really shallow, but it also is based on the way that I looked because I was in the fitness industry for 26 years. And so I got clients by walking down the street, in my
mhm.
workout clothes, or going to pick up my kids from school. And this is kind of crazy, but I was a young mom
Right.
my first time around, and I would like go up to the school to pick up my daughter straight from training clients in my little sports bra. And then I'd get new clients from the other moms seeing me. And just being like in magazines and on the cut, like on the vitamin labels, like you would walk in any CVS or Rite Aid and you would see my picture
Wow.
on a vitamin label. And I was so caught up in that's who I was. I
Mhm.
am a fitness girl. I am, the contributor for Shape magazine
Mhm.
and um and yes, I was a mom and also I would say, yeah, I'm a wife, but that was really my identity.
Yeah.
And now it's also different. I really had
Mm.
to, after I had a horrible accident and that was all taken away, I really had to dig deep to find out who I really was. And I think that when I say who I am now, it's like I'm someone who cares so deeply about other people, and it
Mm.
brings me joy to be able to see others achieve their success. And so I like to call myself a mentor and a cheerleader and a connector. And of course, the most important thing to me, don't tell my husband because he'd probably want me to say the most important thing is wife, but I love being a mom. I love being a good friend. And so that's who I am, I think.
I love that.
And I'm still figuring it all out.
Yeah, we all are. I think that that's something that we never totally arrive at is exactly who we are. But we're all striving to be the person that we were created to be. And Emily, you said that that's who you were until it was all taken away.
Yeah, and let me tell you, everything taken away from being at the height of my career.
Mhm.
And you know what, Lori? I was in a comfortable place.
Right.
Yeah, I was doing some things that were a bit uncomfortable, like some infomercials and workout videos and that sort of thing. But I was really comfortable. I
Yeah.
was living a life where I had, trainers that I employed. I used to teach other trainers how to become certified personal fitness trainers and
Mhm.
then how to run a business as a fitness trainer. And it was very comfortable for me. I loved it,
Yeah.
but I had plenty of clients. It wasn't like I was, jumping out of my comfort zone at all, but it all changed when I was coming home from work. So I'd had my best day running 11 miles in my best time, trained clients, jumped on my motorcycle, and I was headed home and cruising down Ventura Boulevard. We lived in California at the
Mhm.
time. And this SUV shot out of a parking lot. I did not have time to do anything except for just let go of the clutch and try to
Wow.
jump off my bike. And I was T-boned, thrown 30 feet and sliding across the asphalt. And I remember when I came to a stop, just looking down at my leg and it was just crumbled.
Mm.
It was just into pieces and my foot was dangling off. And it is crazy to actually look down at yourself and see that. So I only looked once.
Yeah.
And I didn't let go of my leg because I was afraid that I literally was afraid it was going to fall off my body.
Wow.
And I was just screaming. I was screaming curse words. Like I was screaming cuss words. And one of my first thoughts was, ooh, my Methodist mama wouldn't be too proud of that word. But I could not control the
Right.
screams. And I was like, call 911. And luckily, a guy came right over to me.
Mhm.
I could see other people and they weren't, running over to me. One lady fainted. Um, one lady slowly approached me and she happened to be a nurse, but
Mhm.
others were like scared to come close to me. The guy made a tourniquet around my leg and I swear he was a guardian angel
Yeah.
because I didn't realize that my femoral artery was actually severed. So he saved my life. The nurse grabbed my hands and she's like, I need you to breathe with me, just like,
Mm.
they used to teach you in like Lamaze class. And
Right.
so I would breathe with her for a little bit and then cuss some more. And luckily, paramedics got there so fast. They were right down the street at the Coffee Beans. So they actually heard the
Oh, wow.
accident and they were running over before they even got the call.
Wow.
Rushed to the, emergency room. It was chaotic in there. I mean, just chaotic. And my husband was hysterically crying. I had never seen him cry. And, he's a big, tough
Yeah.
guy. He's a first responder. He was lieutenant commander. So he was used to seeing
Right.
traumatic, injuries, accidents, but I guess it hits different when it's your loved one. And I thought I might be dying because he's freaking out. This isn't looking good. The
Mhm.
paramedics wouldn't even make eye contact with me on the way over. And I just yelled across the room, honey, I need you to get over here and be strong for me. Because
Mm.
at that moment, I thought, if I'm dying, I need to know he's going to pull it together for our two kids. And
Right.
so he came over and held my hand. And that's the last thing I remember before I was put in induced coma. And, when I woke up out of a coma, I learned I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation. Now, seeing as how my entire life I had been gone from being a professional dancer
Right.
to a fitness instructor and had this huge fitness company. I thought 1% chance of saving my leg. I was like, well, I've got to keep my leg. And if you're saying there's a 1% chance, then that means there's a chance and I've got to save my leg.
Mm,
I did not realize just how serious the situation was and how much this was going to change my life. We did find a doctor who was willing to take that chance,
right.
and it took 34 surgeries, months in the hospital, and by the grace of God, they did save my leg.
Mhm.
And that was the beginning of the hard part, though, because
Mm,
yes, surgeries were hard, but it was when I got out of the hospital, I was diagnosed with a nerve disease called complex regional pain syndrome as a result of the accident, that the journey began. Because I was out of work. We
yeah.
had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. We had a lien on our house. I was the main breadwinner. And now I slowly, the business that I had built and the type of business I had built and the systems I had created, um, there was only so long before those trainers that I employed, I had in their contract that
Mhm.
eventually that client would become theirs.
Wow.
So before long, I was making zero income, and I really had to completely reinvent myself. And not only that, I had to learn to love and accept
Mm,
myself, my scars, my
mm,
imperfections. Um, and I had to figure things out.
yeah.
And I will just say, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh man, well, I don't relate. I've never had a motorcycle accident. And my goodness, I pray you never do. And I pray you never get hit by an SUV. And I
Mhm.
pray you never find yourself in a coma or waking up with tubes coming out of your mouth. But I feel like we all have been hit by something,
Yeah.
especially in the past couple of years. And there are ways to get through the adversity and the challenges.
Mhm.
And I just want to say that, the human spirit's powerful. It's powerful beyond measure. And I'd love to share, just some tips and tools on how to get through those challenges.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing, Amberly, that I know a little bit about your backstory. I've read and listened to your book, and I think one time I actually texted you and even said,
Mhm.
Amberly, when I listen to your book, all I can hear are angels guiding and
Oh,
instructing everything that has come together, because that was every moment seemed to be completely ordained, and every path seemed to cross. And one thing that I love about you, and about me, I love choices. And you've made choices that 1%. Most of us, if we were told
mhm.
1%, we'd be like, okay, that's it. I can't do it. But I listened to your interview on the Today Show, and this is what you said. When they asked you about amputating your leg, you said it was never a choice for me. At 1%, it was still never a choice for you.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you so much. You just got me all misty-eyed when you were saying saying that. But yeah, I remember Megan Kelly was interviewing me, and she said, well, why did you want to keep your leg? And I was like, well, it was my leg and I wanted to keep it.
Yeah,
It's
for
like a
real.
limb on on my body. Um, but one thing that I didn't share, I mean, that interview went so fast. But one thing I didn't share was in that moment when I first woke up out of a
Mhm.
coma, one of the first things I did was I asked for my phone, and I was literally texting and calling clients from ICU, assuring them that, you know what, I might be in ICU right now, but man, when I get out of here third quarter, we're going to finish strong. Like,
Right,
saving my business was literally just as important as saving a limb on my body.
right.
And we do have choices, and I think it's up to us to realize that we have a choice. And I honestly think that when you realize you have a choice, no matter what somebody's telling you, you
Mhm.
always have a choice, then you take your power back.
Mm, yeah. Speak to that power a minute because that's one thing that about you too that I love is the grit, the grace, the resilience, and helping people to see their power through those 3 different things.
Well, thank you. I think that I something came to me today, because I've had some resistance. I think when you're going after big dreams or
Yeah.
goals, resistance
Oh,
comes
yeah.
up, and that's part of it. And this one thought, I think sometimes when you can be in a quiet space, or you can be in a zone working out, or out in nature, or wherever you like to kind of connect to your heart and your soul, sometimes, or God, as
Right.
I like to say, sometimes things will pop up for me. And what came up today is resistance builds resilience.
Mm,
And I think that I did have like a lot of challenges, as a kid, and I can look back at those moments now and go, thank you for that, because it prepared everything that I went through,
mm,
prepared me for getting through some of the hardest, darkest, most challenging times of my life. And so I think that I've always been the kind of person that's like, okay, well, that didn't work. Well, what's another way around it? What's another way
yeah.
through it? Oh, they're going to try to stop me there. Well, how can I go around?
Right.
Um, just like, and something as simple as, well, not simple. It really sucks, but like my Facebook business page just
Yeah.
got hacked,
Saw
and I'm
that.
thinking, wow, years and years of building this page, and just how long it takes to get organic people likes and follows on something like that. Just like gone, poof, gone. And it is without a business page. If you're planning on doing ads or anything
Right.
like that, you can't do it. You can't connect your Instagram. And even more so, it's like, well, what if something else gets hacked? It can make fear pop up. It can, make you want to just go, oh, well, I tried. I guess this just wasn't for me. I'm giving up. And I'm like, no, I'm not giving up. There's got to be another way. And so when things come up, I always think, okay, well, what is this teaching me?
Mm,
And how can I share this with others so the same thing doesn't happen to them? Um, but I was all, oh man, Lori, I was all about the grit. Like there were not many things that I could say I was good at, but I could say I was good at grit, because I was never the best looking. I was never the best dancer. I didn't grow up with money.
yeah.
I wasn't the smartest, but I could work really hard. And I thought that that's my way through. I'm just going to work harder. I'm just going to suck it up. And I realized something, that you can't just grit it out. Like,
Mm,
I think grit is good. And
mhm.
Angela Duckworth talks a lot
Yeah.
about grit. I didn't know that there was a book called Grit until after I had already written my book. And people were like, oh, did you read Grit? And I'm like, no, but I wish I would have. But, I don't. I don't think it's all just about the grit. What I've learned is that, yes, it's important to be consistent and
Mhm.
stay disciplined and work hard, but
Right.
grit does not work without connection. And what I've
Right.
realized is grit with connection is where you truly find resilience, and grit without connection is where you're going to find more resistance. And
Right.
so the grace part is, I've really had to learn to give myself and others grace. I was
Right.
so hard on myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated that my leg didn't work properly, that it was all scarred up. And I learned how to give myself grace in a pretty radical way.
Mm,
And it was a doctor who taught me this, the doctor who saved my leg.
mhm.
And I had gone into him, actually, this was about a year after my accident. He had already done all of these surgeries. He believed in me when other doctors were just like, nope, we're not trying to save that
Right.
thing, you know? And I thought, this leg's giving me too much pain. It's
Mm.
scarred. It's ugly. I hate it. I hate myself. And I went into Dr. Wiss and I said, Dr. Wiss, you know what? I appreciate what you've done, but we just need to go ahead and amputate. And he said, well, we can't do that. He goes, you've got a nerve disease and it could make it spread. It could make it get worse. And then he took my leg and he put it in his lap. And my first thought was like, because usually, the doctor, they'll put your leg on the
Right.
table. He sat down in front of me and put my leg on his nice white coat. And I thought, wow, I can't believe this doctor's putting my deformed, scarred up, disgusting leg on his nice white coat. And then he looked at it like it was a masterpiece, like it was
Mm.
a work of art. And that really shifted something in me. And I thought, wow, if he can look at my leg that way, maybe I can learn to look at it that way too. Maybe I can learn to love it a little bit more
Right.
and a little bit more. And that led me to accepting all these
Mm.
scars and instead of trying to hide them. And I went from moving from, looking down at my leg with um, embarrassment and shame to looking down at my leg with like the scars as a symbol of growth and
Yeah.
strength. And now I actually show my scars so others
Mhm.
know that they can heal too.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, like a masterpiece. But like, and I've talked about this before, how we are all created as a masterpiece, unique, and to love and accept who we are and who we were created to be in that. And I love that. Actually, I got cold chills all over myself whenever you said that about being, like it was a masterpiece. That's beautiful. Um, and you spoke about too. Those things that you do that helped you through all those moments and the choices that you made. So, what do you do today to continue with those choices and the decisions and sticking to that? How do you implement that every day of your life?
Oh my goodness. It's really practice. It's knowing your non-negotiables.
Mm,
It's taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and it is community. It is being in, with other people and not doing it alone. And so I would say if there's one thing you can take away from our talk today, like don't do it alone, whether
right.
it's in something as far as, like trying to get sober or trying to get fit or trying to build a business or just to not do it alone.
Yeah.
I say that from a place of, I tried to do it alone and it didn't work. That's what led me down a road of despair. And so I had to really let, all my emotions rise to the surface. And so pain is pain. And, the pain that I had, my physical pain led to emotional pain, which
Yeah.
led to addiction, which led to me feeling more alone and filled with shame because I went from being this fitness person to, how did a good girl like me end up here?
Right.
But it was, drinking was like the only thing that would help me numb out the pain. And I think so many of us sometimes we try to numb it out, we try to cover it up,
Yeah.
and whether it's physical or emotional, and whether it's drinking or shopping too
Mm.
much or speed dating or gambling or scrolling through, social media or
Right.
becoming a workaholic, and we heal what we reveal. I mean, the truth will
Mm.
set you free. And I always say it'll kick your ass a little bit, but it'll set you free.
Yeah.
And so I've had to get like really be radically honest with
Mm.
myself. And when I'm honest with myself, I can learn to trust myself to make the right decisions. Um, and then, there's one word that I came up with. It's called Pacer,
Yeah.
and it helps me to be resilient. And whether that's with my health or my business, or whether I'm feeling sad or overwhelmed, or whether it's like, man, this is hard, I just feel like quitting.
Right.
And Pacer stands for perspective, acceptance, community, endurance, and rest. And I go through this checklist. um, and by the way, this all came about because my husband told me to pace myself, which really
Yeah.
kind of offended me as an entrepreneur. I'm like, I'm not slowing down. I'm not going to pace myself. But it's kind of like when somebody says, well, calm down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not calming down.
Yeah,
Now I'm
that
even more upset.
that makes me so mad.
But yes, but I had to, instead of having like this PhD and suck it up
Mm,
and just gritting it out nonstop, I had to go, okay, well, how can I make pacing myself a win-win?
mm,
And so I wrote down what I do throughout the day to get through um, hard times, like whether you're a single mom chasing your kids around, or you're an entrepreneur and a mom, or got your full-time gig and you're launching your passion project, whatever it is, it does take some pacing
yeah.
yourself. And so perspective, the quickest, that's the first part of Pacer. The quickest and easiest way to do that is with gratitude.
Mm,
And I talked about earlier, like finding your
right.
non-negotiables. I practice gratitude, and I have a group of ladies. We call each other the God Squad, and we share our gratitude. So I have an app that I use, and you can literally go in and write down 10 things you're grateful for and share it.
Oh,
And
wow.
when you're grateful, you you can't be grateful and sad at the same time. You can't be grateful and anxious at the same time.
True.
When you're grateful, it turns what you don't have into what you do have. And it turns, what you can't do into what you can do. And it really turned my denial into acceptance. And
Mm,
that's the next part of Pacer. And I really think that any transformation, personally, professionally, spiritually, starts with acceptance. It's
right.
about taking that radical, getting honest, having that awareness,
Right.
not just stuffing down the feelings, but really letting those feelings rise to the surface. And, life is lifey, but it's
Mhm,
about feeling all the feelings and knowing that those feelings will pass.
mhm,
That, the anxiety will pass.
mhm.
And once I really got honest and I started to work on myself in every way,
Yeah.
I could start to share some of the things that I was going through that were hard, and it really connected me to a community of people. And that's the next part of Pacer. And I think that community is probably the most important part of
Mhm.
Pacer. Um, and I think that that connection, like, we're all strong, but
Right.
when we come together, we're unstoppable. I
Exactly.
mean, that's why when, you're in the Unstoppable Life
Yeah.
Mastermind. And isn't it amazing just having a group of women that are, on this like road to success?
Right.
They're trying new things, they're going after big things. And you can drop in the group and ask questions and get
Exactly.
support. And when I got sober, just knowing that I was not alone, there's something very powerful that when you can talk to someone
Mhm.
and say even your craziest, deepest, darkest secrets, and they're like, yeah, I did that too,
Right.
me too, or you're not alone.
Mhm.
Or you're in a group of with amazing entrepreneurs, and you're like, hey y'all, I want to have an event, and I want 2,000 people to come to my event. And they're like, okay, let's work on that. How can I help you
Right.
promote it?
Right.
And all of that takes endurance, and that's the next part of Pacer. And I really think that endurance is where your passion and your perseverance come into play. I
Mm.
think it takes discipline, and a lot of people don't like that word discipline.
Right.
I personally love it. I like having discipline. And, it was like, I just got back from an event,
Mhm.
and I shared a room with a friend of mine. And she's, I think the first day we got there, she was like, "What time are you getting up?" And I said, "Oh, 5 or 5:30." And she goes, "Oh, no, no, no. Push that alarm back to 6:30." And I was like, "No, because I know that I'm going to get up and go work
Mhm.
out. I'm going to practice, do my gratitude practice. I'm going to have time in nature. I'm going to have time to gather my thoughts and set my intentions for the day.
Right.
And that is my non negotiable so I can have a good day."
Mhm.
And, to each their own, however, but I'm like, nope, I'm disciplined. I'm going to get up. And every time I do that and I keep that promise to myself, it helps build confidence.
Exactly.
And then the very last part of Pacer is rest. And Lori, that was so hard for me. It still is
Oh, I
sometimes. I
know.
was fighting it yesterday.
I
I
know,
got
I
like
watch
3
you.
hours of sleep, which I'm not proud of. And I was like delirious last night. My husband was like, "Just go to bed." And I was like, "But I haven't seen Ruby and I have a few more things to do and this and that." He's like, "Go to sleep." And so I think if you really want to be resilient, you have to schedule times. You have to strategically plan times throughout
Mhm.
your day for rest and recovery, whether that is time to close your eyes for 5 minutes or
Right.
time to take a 20-minute nap in the middle of the day. Or, like I wear the Aura ring, it measures my sleep. I've really made sleep a part of my business strategy. When we get the rest, we can be resilient. We can rest our brains. It's like rebooting our brains so we
Right.
can be a better person,
Right.
a nicer mom, more creative. And so I hope that helps you listening, that the next time you're struggling, if you just remember to
Right.
pace your way through.
Right. And Amberly, you spoke about your sobriety. How long have you been sober?
I got sober back in 2016 and completely just changed my life for the better.
Mhm.
And I stress the importance of community so much because things got real. I had about 5.5 years of sobriety and things got really good.
Mhm.
Life got really eventful.
Mhm.
I had started skipping some of my non-negotiables, like,
Mm.
"Oh, I missed my workout today. Well," or, "Oh, I forgot my gratitude practice today," or, "Oh, I didn't get enough sleep," or, "Oh, I didn't reach out to somebody and
Right.
see how I could be of service to them." Um, and I went out. I lost my sobriety for one day, and it wasn't drinking. I was in a lot of pain. I
Mhm.
had just gotten back from a trip in Texas and was dealing with my brother's attorneys.
Yeah.
Lot high stress situation, and I had not been going to a lot of my recovery meetings,
Mhm.
as many meetings as
Right.
I was in the
Right.
past, because I was still, meetings were still shut down
Mhm.
because of COVID and stuff in California. It
Right.
was like, it was crazy. Um, and I took a pill. I took a pill. And the moment I took it, I thought, I just lost my sobriety. And I took it to try to numb out the feelings, the pain. I just wanted to shut my brain off.
Yeah.
And I wish I could tell you, woo, if I felt great, it shut the feelings off and I just had a good old time. And actually I'm glad that it didn't do
Right.
that, because I'm glad that I felt I was filled with shame and I knew what to do.
Mhm.
I went to bed. The next morning, I called my sponsor in tears and I didn't tell anybody else. And
Mhm.
the reason being is, well, I was filled with shame, but the
Right.
reason I didn't tell anybody else is because I didn't want anybody else to try to talk me out of not starting my sobriety over, or telling my sponsor, saying, "Oh, come on, it was one pill and
Right.
you had a little pain, didn't you?" I knew deep down that I screwed up
Mhm.
and it scared the crap out of me. And I thought, if I am not radically honest about this, what else am I going to let weasel in, little white lie here or there? And I knew, like, I didn't want to be a dishonest person, but I
Right.
also knew that I could not stay sober without honesty.
Mm.
And so, it was really hard to start over, but by the grace of God, um, I've got 2 years again, and it makes me appreciate my sobriety even more because
Yeah.
I would not have the life that I have now without it. I
Right.
wouldn't have the friendship that I have with you
Yeah.
without it. I would not have the connection to God without it,
Mhm.
or the relationships with my daughters or my husband or family or friends. And so I'm really, really passionate about sharing those things because we all struggle in some ways,
Yeah, we
but when you
do.
reach out for help, your life gets better.
It does, and I love again that was a choice, and your choice to pace, your life and to get right back to owning it and knowing it and loving who you are even where you were, but still reaching out to that connection and asking for help. And that's one thing that so many people struggle with is asking for help when we know that we can't do this life on our own. We aren't created to do life on our own. And I love how you are such a connector in community as well. And you've done that for so many people, myself included. So that's been great for me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, community is powerful. And and I think that success is built on relationships.
Yeah.
And we all hear that saying a lot, that proximity is power, but it's true. It's
Hmm.
so important who you're hanging around. And I will tell you, like when you are in alignment and with who you are, what path you're on, you start attracting the right people. You start attracting, like I prayed, God, give me faith-filled, passionate women in my life. And
Mm,
it's such a blessing, but those are the women that I seem to connect with, and I'm so grateful for that because
yeah.
yeah, you're right. We weren't made to do things
Mm-mm.
alone at all. And we're hardwired for connection, and I think that we all just want to be seen, heard, and understood.
Yes.
And I'll tell you a little story about that. Just recently, a few days ago, I did this keynote, and when I got there, I'm like, it was like, okay, I didn't have a chance to see the stage before. And they're like, do you think instead of 45 minutes, you could go for an hour? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. And we had so much, like, technical issues. My mic wasn't working. I can't wait to share all about this experience with you in our mastermind meetup on Thursday, Lori. I can't
Yeah.
wait to tell you this. But anyway, long story short, like, anything that could have gone wrong
Yeah.
went wrong. And so I was a little bit, I'm usually speak from my heart,
Mhm.
and I was in my head a little bit because you're looking down at a confidence monitor, you're looking down at a screen where AV is basically typing to me what to do next about the mic. And then I've got a big timer that's flashing in your face that you don't want to stare at any of these things, because the minute you
Yeah.
look down, you lose your audience. Your
Exactly.
audience is like, what's she staring at? You know what I mean? But anyway, I got a little thrown off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was approaching the end of my talk,
Mhm.
and I was in my head going, okay, what other stories can I tell? What other things can I share? And I'm like, and this was like for a tech company, which is hilarious considering, technology is not one of my strongest
Right.
things that I do, still figuring things out. But anyway, I was like, okay, Amberly, and I was in my head going, okay, well, I'm going to end early and I'm going to open it up for Q&A. And I hope that the founder and the CEO, which they were sitting front
Oh,
row
no.
center. So I'm looking, basically, I can see their faces, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go for this. And I was like, now I really want to open this up for Q&A. And slowly people started to kind of like go,
Yeah.
like they were scared to ask. But then as soon as one person asked a question, then other people are like, okay, I can ask a question too.
Exactly.
Anyway, I was like freaking out, sweating it a little bit, get off the stage, and the founder and the CEO come over, and they're like, oh my gosh, that was great. And I'm going, whew, oh my God, thank goodness they liked it. And they're like, no, we really like that you did Q&A at the end because, people just want to be heard and they want to feel connected.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, thank you. Yes, they do. And I think that when in a big conference like that,
Right,
especially when I've been to so many conferences and speak at a lot of conferences. When you're sitting in the audience, it does make you feel good when somebody starts going, okay, anybody done this? Let's answer this
right.
question or let's do that. And when you know that somebody just understands you or they really
Mm.
see you, it makes all the difference.
It does. It absolutely does. And that's something else that I love about you is that you've given all of us in the mastermind that opportunity to be able to be seen, heard, understood, and loved on all combined.
Mhm.
And you're giving us those opportunities, and you know that my passion is speaking, and though I haven't been able to quite do that yet, you're going to give me that opportunity. And again, that's something that you're so great at, is being that helper to help people, to connect people, to help us make decisions and stick to them again. And I love that.
Well,
I love that.
thank you. And yeah, I can't wait to see you rock the stage April 20th
I know.
at the Unstoppable Success
I'm
Summit in
excited.
Dallas. I can't wait for that. But you know what? I think it's so important, like, to have that accountability.
It is.
It helps. I mean, believe me, it helps me with, I mean, I'm a coach and I have a coach.
Mhm.
I'm a mentor and I have a mentor. In fact, I just called one of my mentors yesterday when I was freaking out when my Facebook got hacked.
Right.
I reached out to Randy Garn and I was like, Randy, what do I do? And it was a Sunday.
Right.
And my web guy, Connor, my
Mhm.
web ClickFunnel web amazing, brilliant, genius guy was like, man, I can't figure out how they hacked you, and you might want to call Randy. And I was like, but it's Sunday. He goes, your friends, he's your mentor. This is important.
Yeah.
And so it is important to have those people in your life that you can go, I am freaking out. Can you
Mhm.
help me right now?
Exactly.
To be
Exactly.
able to do that, it's so important. And I think that the way that you start to build those relationships is you constantly add value, add value, add value, see how you can use your strengths
Yes.
to be of service to others and their success. And that builds meaningful relationships.
Right.
And so it's takes years sometimes to build those meaningful relationships, but they're so important.
Right. I agree with that. So, Amberly, before we go, I want my audience to know how they can connect with you. And I highly recommend everyone read your book. Like, there's so many golden nuggets throughout that. And not only that, but like I've said before, seeing the hand of God throughout your entire story is amazing. Um, but also, one thing I want to know is tell me something that you want everyone to be able to take away, just that's so important to you that you've learned throughout all your trials that you've been through.
Oh, well, thank you. I would say the most important thing is don't do it alone.
Mm,
Don't do it alone. Like, although we have this mastermind, I'm invested in a
right.
mastermind. Invest in yourself.
Hmm.
And if you can't get in a mastermind, well, then my gosh, see if you can get a mentor.
Hmm.
But make sure that my friend Greg Reed says this, and he says this, and it really makes sense because I've not done this and made the mistake of not doing this,
Right.
and I really research the people that I'm asking to mentor, to help, or
Hmm.
guide me now. But he says, seek counsel, not opinion, meaning reach out to somebody who, if you want them to be your coach or you want them to be your mentor or it's a mastermind, make sure that person has achieved the things that you want to achieve,
Right.
not just like they're saying they have, but what do their actions say? What
Right.
do their actions show you? Because there's plenty of people out there with opinions that will tell you, oh, this is the thing to do, or that don't actually have the experience, knowledge, life
Mhm.
lessons from the thing that you want to do. And so, and a lot of times that looks like family
It
members who
does.
you might say, you've got a big idea, and they're like, they try to shoot that big idea down. And it's nothing against you. It usually comes from a place of fear and a place of, oh, well, they've never done it. So how the heck are you going to do it? But when you seek out counsel, somebody who's done that thing,
Right.
they will say, that's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely possible. And they will give you a strategy for achieving that goal.
And on that same note, you're my mentor. Randy Garn is your mentor, and he is an amazing man. I met him at the Create conference when I met you as well. And he spoke so much life into me that day. And I admire him so much. Um, so Amberly, please let my audience know how they can connect with you.
Oh, I sure will. Yeah. And Randy, I love
I
him.
do too.
He's amazing. And yeah, reach out to me. And actually, if you want, I don't want people to just listen and go, oh, well, we want to, got a little inspiration. I'm like, you can text me at 818-214-7378. Just text the word grit,
Okay.
and it will give you a downloadable playbook with the pacer method on how to tap into your own superpower resilience and thrive.
Hmm.
And that's actually me texting you back, so you can say hi, you heard our conversation with Lori. And then amberlylago.com is where you can find all the upcoming events, or True Grit and Grace.
Yep.
You can find the mastermind and details on the upcoming event in Dallas, and come see Lori rock the stage.
I'm excited.
And yeah, I usually, oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Um, and I usually, most of my shenanigans are on Instagram at Amberly Lago Motivation. And I love when I see, that people share something and tag me. So if any of this resonated with you and you're like, want to show Lori some love for her new podcast, take a screenshot
Hmm.
on, whether you're listening on Spotify or you're seeing this on YouTube, take a screenshot and tag us on Instagram. When I see that, I always share it in my
Right.
story.
Yes.
So, Lori, I just love you, and I so appreciate this opportunity to get to share with your audience so much. And I love seeing you soar and shine. And you're just such a beautiful soul, beautiful in every
Well,
sense of the
thank you.
word.
Thank you so much, Amberly. And I appreciate you being here and sharing all your life with my audience. And I know that they're going to grow to love you just as much as I do. So thank you so much for being on Get Your Rear in Gear. I hope you have enjoyed today's show with Amberly Lago. And so all of the information that Amberly gave you, the sites and the numbers so that you can get your free download, will be in the show notes. So go subscribe and please give a 5-star rating. I would so love that. Thank you again for joining me on Get Your Rear in Gear with Lori. And until next time, remember, keep walking forward to be the person that you were created to be.